Hello and thanks for watching. Welcome to the second video in my series looking at the F-Zero games. So here we are in BS F-Zero Grand Prix 2. BS stands for Broadcast Satellite. So in the mid-90s in Japan they released something called the Satellaview, which is an attachment for the Super Nintendo. And it basically let you download games from satellite and save them on flash ROM cartridge and play them for your Super Nintendo. I'll post a picture of it here so you can see what it looks like. So as I mentioned, that wasn't ever released outside of Japan, unfortunately, but some people did get the game and upload it onto the internet, and people use it for emulation and stuff like that. You can also buy customized cartridges with the game placed into it, so you can play it through a normal Super Nintendo. That's what I've done, and we're just going to have a look at it here today. So we've got Grand Prix mode, just like the previous F-Zero, the original, where you basically just go through the tracks and try and win the league. Or practice mode, where you pick a track, pick a ship, just practice to your heart's content. So we're going to go straight into Grand Prix mode here. And we've got very familiar looking ships to the original F-Zero, but they've got different names. So we've got Blue Thunder instead of Blue Falcon from the original. We've got Lunar Bomber. We've got Green Amazon. And Fire Scorpion instead of Fire Stingray. I quite like that. We'll just start with the blue, Blue Thunder at the top here. And here we have the Ace League, so that's the league that was in BS F-Zero Grand Prix 2. And then you've got your class, which is your difficulty, and we've got Beginner, Standard, Expert, Master. We're going to go with Beginner though. These games are quite difficult as it is. Mute City 4. So, first track, very familiar to the original Mute City from the original game, and you can immediately tell it is basically the same assets as the original F-Zero, just with, you know, different ships and different track design. Same Mute City music here, which is not a bad thing at all. Mute City has a great soundtrack. You can see these speed pads on the track here, so it's a bit different. And we're going to jump across the track here. Let's see if we can make it. Yep. So basically it's just different track designs, a bit more difficult, a bit more obstacles thrown in there, but the game plays exactly like the original F-Zero. You've got to keep your power up, which is the bar in the top right there. You've got your speed boost, which I've got after the first lap. You can see that in the bottom right there, next to the ship with the number, which shows you how many attempts you have at the track. But yeah, it's immediately more difficult with these speed pads and these jumps flying over the track here. Let's see if I make it. Nope, didn't make it. So there you go, that's a perfect example of how much more difficult it is. But yeah, that's crashed out. Yeah, let's have another go at that. There we go. Yeah, you can see a little map of the track in the bottom left there, and you rank in the top left, and you've got to stay above a specific rank after every lap to stay in the race. And yeah, so basically it is just more content, more of the original F-Zero. And that was the idea behind the Satellaview, was that you downloaded more content for your games. As far as I can tell, it wasn't supported for a huge amount of time. There wasn't a lot of content on it. It never, like I say, never did release outside of Japan, which is a shame. It's quite forward thinking. Like these days we have downloadable content, add-ons for games all the time. And this is the mid-90s, this is before any of this stuff took off with the later generations of video games. But yeah, so I'm going to cut across now and we're going to look at another track and another ship. Okay, so here we are, we're on Big Blue 2, and I've picked the Lunar Bomber, the yellow ship. And yeah, just to show you a bit of this track, show you how it's a bit different to the original. Got a few extra jumps added in. So there's one on the side there, there's some more going on here, yeah. So yeah, basically this is the Ace League, it's an extra league. If you really like F-Zero, it's definitely something to look into getting. Like I say, it is available through emulation and stuff like that, so you can find it out there. But yeah, it's just a bit more content really. If you're not familiar with the F-Zero games, I'd say start with one of the full games because you get obviously a lot more content. This isn't as impressive on its own, it's just a few tracks. But yeah, it's pretty good, it's good stuff. Let's have a look at another track. Okay, so here we go, I've picked the Wild Amazon ship and we're on Silence 2. Another variation of a track from the original game, where it has a bit of a different layout. Some mines here to dodge, or run straight into, like that. You can jump over them, or you can run into them. I chose to run into them, there you go. And this is quite cool, these little jumps that line the track instead of the things which normally damage you. So not only should you avoid the sides, but if you do hit the sides, it will send you flying. Quite like that. So yeah, that pretty much sums it up. There's just a bit of variation with the obstacles and the way the tracks are designed. It's quite unique, it's quite cool. And difficulty wise, it's definitely a bit of a step up. Like, it immediately throws you into jumps and things like that. So it kind of assumes you have played the original game in that regard, because it is seen as a bit of an add-on to the original game. It's like, oh, you beat the original game, okay, here's some more difficult stuff to try out. And yeah, let's look at that. Let's look at the last ship and another track, and then I think we'll leave it at that. Okay, here we are on Sandstorm 2, and I'm racing in the Fire Scorpion. And we'll just have a quick look at this track, and I think that'll be it. So this is a bit like Death Wind from the original F-Zero, with the wind pushing you across the track. Presents you with a bit of an extra obstacle. But yeah, once again the track's just changed up a little bit, a bit more technical, bit more unique. And yeah, that's been a look at Broadcast Satellite F-Zero Grand Prix 2. If you are a fan of F-Zero, especially if you like the original game on the Super Nintendo, this is something you really should look into. It's just more of that content. It's a lot of fun learning the tracks, especially if you haven't played it before. Learning some new tracks is quite fun. If you're new to the series, I'd say play the original first, as this is a bit more difficult and doesn't offer as much content. But it's definitely worth checking out. And yeah, so that's been a look at that. And next up we're going to look at F-Zero X for the Nintendo 64. So that video will be along at some point. And thank you very much for watching.